Hi guys, welcome to my channel. I hope you guys are doing well. So this video is part 9 of the MCQ series of all sciences, biology, chemistry, and physics. So as per usual, if you have not watched the previous parts, I highly suggest you do so. And like the previous few videos, I have also included Hindi translations for some of the viewers to understand the content a little bit better. So if you like this type of content, don't forget to like the video, comment down below, and subscribe. So let's start off with the first question. The web of the spider is made up of which among the following? Is it A, carbohydrate polymers, B, lipids, C, proteins, or D, polysaccharides? So the spider web is made up of proteins. Spiders use their silk to make webs which is made up of protein, specifically fibrous proteins which give the tensile strength. Moving on to the next question. Down syndrome is also known as, is it A, Patau syndrome, B, Edwards syndrome, C, Mongolism syndrome, or D, none of these? So Down syndrome is also known as C, Mongolism syndrome, which is commonly referred to as trisomy 21, which is caused by the presence of the third copy of chromosome 21. Down syndrome affects delay in cognitive ability and also impacts physical growth. Moving on to the next question. A plant that grows in waters of high salinity is called, is it A, halophytes, B, oxalophytes, C, chromatophytes, or D, samophytes? So a plant that grows in waters of high salinity, and again salinity refers to the sodium content. So a plant that grows in waters of high sodium content is called A, halophytes. Halophytes are salt-tolerant plants that grow in waters with high salinity, and examples of halophytes include mangrove swamps and marsh. Moving on to the next one. The excretory system in annelids is consisted of tubes called, is it A, flame cells, B, proteinophilia, C, nephridia, or D, metanophilia? So the excretory system in annelids, and again annelids is Latin for little rings, also known as ringed worms. So the excretory system of ringed worms is consisted of tubes called nephridia. The excretory system consists of structural unit nephridia. Each nephridium contains a ciliated tunnel that leads to a long coil tube which leads to bladder-like sacs. So the excretory system in ringed worms is consisted of tubes called nephridia. Moving on to the next one. Choose a vascular plant out of these. So which of these options have both xylem and phloem? Is it A, mosses, B, ferns, C, hornworts, or D, liversorts? So out of these options, ferns is a vascular plant. Ferns, also known as Trichophyta, possesses vascular tissues, meaning both xylem and phloem. So this plant has true stems, leaves, and roots. Next question. What is the phylum of octopus? Is it A, Arthropoda, B, Annelida, C, Mollusca, or D, Cnidaria? So the phylum of octopus is C, Mollusca. Mollusca is the second largest phylum of invertebrate animals after Arthropoda. So remember, Arthropoda is the largest phylum of invertebrate. Organisms like octopus and squid are known as cephalopod molluscus. Next question. Leghorn is related to, is it A, poultry, B, apiculture, C, pisciculture, or D, dairy farming? So again, Leghorn is a breed of chicken originating in Tuscany, which is located in central Italy. So Leghorn is related to poultry. Poultry is defined as domestic fowls, and other examples consist of turkey and duck. So turkey, duck, chicken, leghorn are all examples of poultry. Moving on to the next question. Ruhu and katla are types of. Is it A, marine water fish, B, freshwater fish, C, saltwater fish, or D, none of these? So ruhu and katla are types of freshwater fish, meaning that they exist in fresh water. Both ruhu and katla can be found in rivers and lakes in northern India, Nepal, and Bangladesh. Moving on to the next question. Mullets, prawns, and mussels are examples of. Is it A, marine fishes, B, shellfish, C, freshwater fishes, or D, none of these? So mullets, prawns, and mussels are examples of marine fishes. Mullets are species of finned fish that are found in tropical marine water, along with prawns and mussels. Next question. On Moon, the temperature ranges from negative 190 degrees Celsius to 180 degrees Celsius. This is due to. Is it due to conversion of pyruvate to ethanol, or due to the fact that there is no big geochemical cycle, or no water bodies present, or no atmosphere present? So the temperature range from negative 190 degrees Celsius to 100 degrees Celsius on Moon is due to the fact that there is no atmosphere present. The Moon has a weak surface gravity, which causes gases to escape into space. And the reason why is because it lacks atmosphere and affects temperature regulation. Next question. The microorganisms which helps in formation of soil. Is it A, bacteria, B, lichen, C, moss, or D, both lichen and moss? So which of these microorganisms help in formation of soil? And the correct answer here is lichen. Lichen enriches the soil by trapping water, dust, and silt. When lichens die, they contribute organic matter to soil, improving quality. Moving on to the next question. Iodine gives blue-black color with. Is it A, protein, B, sucrose, C, starch, or D, oil? So iodine is also known as an indicator. So reacting with which of these options does the iodine color change to blue and black? And the right answer here is starch. Iodine, in the presence of starch, changes its color to blue to black. In the absence of starch, the solution will remain its natural light brown color. Next question. The cell body of a neuron contains nucleus and cytoplasm, and it is called, is it A, cyton, B, axon, C, dendron, or D, Nissel's granule? So the cell body of a neutron that contains both nucleus and cytoplasm is called cytone. Cytone, or cell body of neuron, possesses both cytoplasm and nucleus. Moving on to the next question. Which one is a dead cell? So out of these options, which is a dead cell? Is it A, parenchyma, B, chlorenchyma, C, sclerenchyma, or D, collenchyma? So out of these options, sclerenchyma is a dead cell. Sclerenchyma is called dead tissue because the cells have thick lignified secondary walls, which have died after maturation, thus ceasing their elongation. Next question. Identify warm-blooded, four-chambered heart, and oviparous. So out of these options here, which conform to all these three standards, having warm blood, a four-chambered heart, and oviparous? Is it A, bird, B. Earthworm, C. Cockroach, or D. Bony fish? And the correct answer here is birds. Are warm-blooded, which means they regulate and maintain internal body system, have a four-chambered heart, meaning 2 atria and 2 ventricles, and are oviparous, meaning they are egg-laying animals. So out of all these options, birds conform to all three standards. Next question. Identify the organism. The body is divided into head, thorax, and abdomen, having a biting and chewing mouth part. So is it A, fish, B, cockroach, C, pigeon, or D, earthworm? So which organism is divided into these three parts, along with having a biting and chewing mouth part? And the correct answer here is cockroach. Cockroach's body is divided into three segments: the head, the thorax, and abdomen. Cockroaches also have mandibles, which are insect jaws, giving the biting and chewing ability. Next question. Seeds are naked in. Is it A, gymnosperm, B, angiosperm, C, both gymnosperm and angiosperm, or D, none of these? So seeds are naked in gymnosperm. The word gymnosperm means naked seed, which means that seeds are not enclosed inside fruits. So an example of gymnosperm is pinecone. Moving on to the next question. The umbrella-like spherical part of a button mushroom is, so again, button mushroom is also commonly known as common mushroom. So the umbrella-like spherical part of a common mushroom or a button mushroom is it A, sporangium, B, spores, C, stripes, or D, phyllis? So the umbrella-like spherical part of a button mushroom is D, phyllis. Phyllis is the technical name for cap of a basidocarp, which means the fungal fruiting body, and this is also a structural unit as it supports the spore-bearing body. Next question. The time period of simple pendulum in a spacecraft orbiting the Earth is it A, infinity, B, 0, C, 1 second, or D, 2 seconds? So the time period of a simple pendulum in a spacecraft orbiting the Earth is infinity. Gravity in space is 0, and because time period is inversely proportional to square root of g, time period becomes infinite, meaning pendulum will not oscillate. Next question. SI unit of frequency is it A, meter, B, meter per second, C, meter per second squared, or D, hertz? So the international system of unit for frequency is D, hertz. 1 hertz is the same as 1 cycle per second. Next question. Sound waves are sound waves longitudinal, or B, transverse, or C, both longitudinal and transverse, or D, none of these? So sound waves are longitudinal. And for reference, light waves are transverse waves. Moving on to the next question. The weight of an object is it A, lesser on Earth and greater on Moon, B, greater on Earth and lesser on Moon, or C, equal on both Earth and Moon, or D, none of these? So the weight of an object is greater on Earth and lesser on Moon. The reason why is because the weight of an object is the gravitational force acting on it. So since the gravitational force on Moon is 1/6 of the gravitational force on Earth, the weight of an object is therefore 1/6 compared to the weight on Earth. So that's a very important one to remember. Moving on to the next question. The SI unit of pressure is it A, Newton, B. Dyne, C. Meter per second squared, or D. Pascal. So which of these options is the International System Unit of Pressure? And the right answer here is Pascal. Pascal can also be denoted as capital P and K. Pascal is also the SI unit for stress. So the SI unit for pressure and stress is Pascal. Moving on to the next question. The combining capacity of an element is called: is it A. atomic number, B. atomicity, C. valency, or D. acidity? So the capacity of an element to combine with other elements is called C. valency. Valency refers to the number of valence electrons in outer shell that take part in chemical reaction. So an example can include the sharing of sodium and chloride. The sodium has 1 valence electrons and chloride has 7 valence electrons. So the sharing of electrons present in the outer shell allow the combining of two elements. Next question. The upward force exerted by the liquid displaced by the body when it is placed inside the liquid is called: is it A. gravitational force, B. buoyant force, C. centripetal force, or D. force of gravity? So the upward force exerted by the liquid displaced by body when it is placed inside liquid is called buoyant force. Buoyancy is the force that causes objects to float and caused by differences in pressure acting on opposite sides of an object immersed in static fluid. Let's move on to the next question. Acids react with base to form salt and water. This reaction is known as reduction, decomposition, neutralization, or decombination? So the acid reacting with base to form salt and water is the reaction known as neutralization. Neutralization of strong acid and strong base has a pH equaling to 7, whereas a strong acid and weak base has a pH less than 7. Whereas a strong base neutralizing a weak acid will have a greater pH level than 7. Let's move on to the next one. Which of the following substances will undergo sublimation? And if you've watched my previous videos, you will know that sublimation is referred to the conversion between solid to gaseous phase without the intermediary liquid stage. So, which substance will undergo sublimation? Is it A. sugar, B. adenine, C. common salt, or D. sand? And the right answer here is B. adenine. Adenine will undergo sublimation. The heat from water bath causes air fresheners to sublime. Next question. We get the smell of hot food in the kitchen outside the house because: is it because sublimation, or because boiling, or is it because diffusion or evaporation? So the smell of hot, tasty food that is in the kitchen can be smelled outside of the house because of diffusion. Diffusion is the movement of substances from an area of high concentration to an area of low concentration. So in the kitchen, there is a high concentration of smell, which will eventually diffuse into the lower concentration present outside the house where the concentration is lower. Let's move on to the next question. Acids react with metals to liberate blank gas. So acids react with metals to liberate what type of gas? Is it A, carbon dioxide, B, hydrogen, C, carbon monoxide, or D, none of these? So acids react with metals to liberate hydrogen gas. Acids react with most metals, and when they do, a salt is produced. But unlike a reaction between acid and base, it is not water. Instead, it is hydrogen gas. Moving on to the last question of the day. Weight of an object on the surface of the moon is. I had mentioned this previously, so if you were listening carefully, you would know that the weight on an object on the surface of the moon is C. 1/6 of that on surface of Earth. So let me repeat it again. Weight of an object is the gravitational force acting upon it. So gravitational force on moon is 1/6 compared to on Earth. Okay guys, thank you guys all for watching. I hope you enjoyed this part 9 of the MCQ series that includes all science questions, biology, chemistry, and physics. As per usual, don't forget to like this video, comment down below how you guys did with the MCQ. Don't forget to share it with your family, friends, and classmates, and giving them a chance to fare with these questions. And I would really appreciate it if you guys would subscribe and hit that bell icon. This way you will be notified when I post again. I will see you guys tomorrow with part 10.